Hi everyone, Amber here from Sew Majestic. Welcome to my channel. Today is another Marathon Sewciety sewing marathon, and we are all sewing up the Sammy zip wallet from So Many Creations. The pattern is amazing. Thank you so much, Jessica, for allowing us to feature it on our marathon today. Jessica has her own website, her in-person studio, a large YouTube following, and so many patterns and tutorials. So I'm going to link it all below. She gives a ton of tips and tricks in her own tutorial for this, so definitely check it out. For mine, I chose not to do a wristlet. I just did it as the wallet. I use cork for the outside, both the top and the bottom, on the number 5 zipper and pull. And then inside, I use quilting cotton for the card slots and the coin pouch here in the center. So I definitely recommend using thin materials if you are not sewing on an industrial. I sew on an older Singer with metal gears and did have a little bit of trouble. It gets very thick down here. So if I had used like vinyl on the exterior or waterproof canvas on the inside, I'm not sure if my machine would have gone through it. So if you're using a domestic, just be very mindful of the materials. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I'll have timestamps in the description. I'll also include all of the sewists that are participating today and their videos. And if you enjoy it, I would love if you could give me a comment, a like, or subscribe. All of it helps my channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. So enjoy. Okay, so I have all my fabric cut out and interfaced and laid out here. So for my exterior, I am using Portuguese cork. So I have this pineapple print and this dark green. So I use the templates to cut these. And then I have my 2 linings, which I also use the templates, and interfaced with Sewfuse Plus. And then if you see like little sticky notes with letters, Jess tells you, she gives them each a letter, which is really helpful when cutting out. I have 4 pieces of quilting cotton for our zipper pocket inside. And both this yellow and green fabric in the background are the grunge line from Moda, which are like actual quilting cottons. And 2 of these are interfaced with the Sewfuse Plus as well. I have my 6 card slots cut. I have already folded them and pressed them in half just to save myself time for the next step once we start sewing. So there's 6 pieces here. And these are right side or wrong side facing up because I have them right sides facing together. These are going to be like the little gussets on the side. And you should have 8 individual pieces. Jess gives amazing like cutting instructions, how to cut these easily from your fabrics. I also have 2 pieces of zipper tape. They're an inch or 2 longer than the recommended. They just happen to be scraps that I have that work. And that zipper is available in the shop, and so are these matching gold pineapple pulls. So I have 3 pulls, 2 for the double zipper up top and 1 for the inside zipper pocket. I'm not doing a wristlet strap, so I did not include that in my materials. So now for supplies I plan on using, I have clips. I am using this Tex 35 thread from Wizardry Stitchery. It is Badger Yellow. I use it in both the needle and in the bobbin. It works great on my domestic. I'm using a Microtex 9014 needle. I have a few different marking pens, a silver one, a water-soluble blue, some chalk, snips, a lighter, and a ruler. If there's anything else I use, I'll let you know as we go on. Okay, so our first step is we are starting with our pieces labeled Piece D. They are our card slot pockets. So I already have mine folded and pressed in half, and I'm going to take them to the machine and top stitch along the top of each. Okay, so now for our next step, I have my 2-piece C linings. They are the ones that interface in the back and they have the cutout at the bottom. We are going to attach our first card slot. So we're going to actually attach all 6 during these steps, but we're going to start with our first one, and a measurement is given for how far down to put it. So you can see I've already clipped it on this one here, and I'm going to do it on the right hand side. I'm going to sew both at the same time, and I'm going to take it to the machine, and we are going to sew across the bottom at the measurement giving in the pattern. Okay, and just a real quick tip. I know I show these sewed. I'm going to show the time lapse in a second. But this one, I don't know if you can see, like here, there's kind of like a ripple. I don't have a walking foot for this machine that fits properly. So I noticed that my fabric started to shift on this one. So on this side, it is sitting much flatter. And what I did is I just took some pins and I held this piece across by putting in the pins horizontally. So that's a tip that may work for you if you are using quilting cotton and you find that it's shifting and creating a bubble if you don't have a walking foot. So I'm going to pick this apart and then sew it again. Okay, so now we are adding our second card slot pocket. So you can see here on the left, I have already measured it as far down as it's given in the pattern, and I clipped on the edges and put pins across to really try to keep it stabilized. Again, that's because I'm using quilting cotton. If I was using something that didn't have like stretch, it would be fine. Also because these are not, I didn't interface any of these. And so now I'm going to attach the same thing on this side and bring it to the machine, and we're sewing along the raw edges at the bottom again. Okay, so now we're adding our last card slot pocket, and you can see now why I alternated colors. So we're attaching it a little bit differently. I already have it pinned and clipped on the left-hand side. So what we're doing for this one is we are putting it right side down. So we're lining up the raw edges of the second card pocket and then this third one. And we are going to stitch across at the seam allowance and then flip it up and top stitch again. So if you have directional print on your card slots, you want to be mindful because again, we're putting it right sides down, stitching across, and then turning it up and stitching again. Okay, so I have trimmed the edges in case there was any overhang. We just top stitched the bottom of our bottom card slot. It's such a cool way how she does it so we don't have any raw edges there. And so now I have marked my center line because I am going to stitch the center pockets down, and I'm also going to base stitch the sides, and there's another pattern or measurement in the pattern given for the left and right side. We're also going to stitch so you're going to have 5 different stitch lines, 2 on the left, your center, and 2 on the right for each of your card slot pockets. And I marked my centers in the top with water soluble and lined up a ruler and used my chalk pen for the center because this is going to be visible. So you want something that comes off. And the other thing is when I'm sewing, I am going to turn it around and I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. That way I'm not going against the fabric. If I'm going upwards, I shouldn't get those ripples, especially because I'm using the quilting cotton. So we have just finished our center stitch line and our 2 on the left and right sides. I made sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end extra secure because these are card slots and they may be tugged on. I've also taken one of my cards and checked to make sure that each one fits and that they're sewed correctly. So now we're going to set it aside, and we need our gusset pieces, which are our piece Fs. Mine are already right sides facing together, each other, because of the cutting process. So that's how we trim them. So now we are going to sew along the top, the right hand side, and the bottom. You want to sew down on the straight edge. So we're only sewing 3 sides. We're leaving this diagonal side open so we can turn them right sides out. Now I have sewn all 3 sides, and we need to turn them right sides out. But before we do that, I'm just going to trim my corners, making sure that you are not cutting your stitching, and then you just slip it right side out. Because mine is quilting cotton, I am definitely going to take an iron and give it a press just to get a nice crisp line, and I'm just using a chopstick to help poke out my corners. So after I turn them all and just give it a quick press, it's optional, but I am going to top stitch along the top on each one, and the top is the section that is wider. The bottom is your smaller section that comes in on that diagonal. So I'm going to do the pressing off camera and then top stitch them. Okay, so we have just top stitched along the 4 gussets. I had pressed them. I'm really happy with how they look. So now we need to attach it to our side panels. So we are going to attach the raw edge, lining up the bottom, which is the shorter side if you did not top stitch, along the edge here, and we're lining up the bottom with the bottom edge of the card slot, and then the raw edge should line up directly across the side. And we're going to do that for both panels. So I'm going to repeat for over here. They line up perfectly. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch them on within the seam allowance right now. Okay, so again, it'll be on each side of your pocket, the shorter side on the bottom, and lining up the wrong edges. Okay, so we have just attached our side gussets on, stitched down within the seam allowance. So I'm going to set them to the side for right now because we are working on our zipper pocket. So I have already put my pole on my zipper, and I have my 4 coin pouch pieces. I have 2 that are interfaced. I'm going to use them as the exterior, and the 2 that are not as the interior. So if you have different for interior and exterior, you definitely want to be mindful of that. My zipper is way longer than I need. It was a scrap. You can see that there is like a blemish here. So it's actually long enough that it won't be part of the zipper. So I'm pulling my pull all the way to the edge so that way it doesn't get in the way. And starting with my exterior piece, we want to make sure it's right sides up. So that's the longer side on top. And we are going to put our zipper teeth side down. And the way we're doing the zipper with the finished pocket, there will be like a little diagonal on each end, If you don't want that slope in your coin pouch, you could also shorten this zipper and use zipper tabs, but I don't think that little slope is a problem. I think it actually fits nicely, or going to fit nicely within the wallet, because there's like a curve here. So I'm going to do the zipper exactly how it's written. You could baste stitch this right now, but I'm going to do like the pattern says, and it just makes it quicker to do your lining and your exterior at the same time. So I am going to now take a lining piece, which is a piece without interfacing, and make sure that they are lined up at the top. And we are going to take this to the machine and stitch at the seam allowance given in the pattern. And one thing we want to be mindful of is that if you do not have extra tape and your zipper pull is not out of the way, you want to make sure that when you are sewing, you're moving it. You don't move it, you'll get like that bubble and uneven zipper tape. The other thing that Jess suggests is sewing with our interfaced piece right side up. And that means the zipper teeth will be up. That way we don't get stretching within our fabric if you have a stretchy fabric. So I'm going to take that to the machine and sew along at the given seam allowance. Okay, so we have just stitched our zipper, or along the zipper, and we are going to fold the exterior and lining pieces right or wrong sides together. So our right side is facing up, and then we are going to top stitch along here. Because I'm using quilting cotton, I want to actually iron and press this. I really hate pressing and ironing, but when you use quilting cotton, it really does help with the finish. So before I top stitch this, I'm just going to do the next side. So we're going to repeat the same exact process. So you want to make sure that you're lining up your pieces. And how I did that, even though this is my exterior, and to have it flat, by putting it right sides up, I can line it up with the other exterior piece on this side, just to make sure that I am clipping it evenly across the zipper. I guess if I had marked like my centers and stuff, that wouldn't be so big of an issue, but because I didn't mark centers or anything, that's how I am lining it up. So really it should look like this. This would be our first side that we did. It's already top stitch hypothetically. This is right side down. So again, now I'm going to put the lining here, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to take this to the machine, stitch it on the zipper, then press it off screen and top stitch both sides at the same time. Okay, so I have just attached the other side, top stitched down on both sides, and I highly recommend pressing. It's like such a clean look right now. So now what we need to do, if your zipper pull is not already in the center, you want to put it in the center and make sure your pocket is open a little bit, because we're going to start sewing it together, and we don't want to accidentally sew over the pull or anything. And I'm just trimming off like the crazy excess zipper tape. Okay, so I have my pull in the center. It's slightly open. Now I'm going to put right sides together for the exterior. So that is the sides that are interfaced. And we are going to clip the edges. We're going to leave both the top and bottom on sewn, so you don't need to worry about clipping there. Okay, and then now we are going to put our lining sides right side together, and I'm just going to clip the edge first and then show you what to do with the zipper. So we want our zipper teeth facing the lining. And so you could pull this apart on both sides, honestly, even if it makes it easier, because then it will lay flat and we can stagger that zipper a little bit. So I'm gonna clip it and then see if I can show you. So see how it is side by side here. This other side we already had open, so it's a little bit easier. So the same thing. And find clipping on that zipper helps a little bit. Okay, so now we are going to sew down both of these sides at the given seam allowance. This is my exterior up top. I am going to sew, even though it doesn't say in the pattern that I see, slightly larger of a seam allowance on the lining. Only increase it by like 1/8 just to make the lining sit inside a little bit better. So we're not sewing along the top or the bottom. You want to leave that open. That's really important. Okay, so we have just sewn along the edges. So now I'm going to do two things. I'm going to trim the zipper tape down, and I'm just going to trim slightly on the lining side since I took that increased seam allowance just to bring it a little bit more even. My zipper is like pretty much on the end over here. I might trim a tiny bit off, but not much. And if you do end up trimming your zipper, you can take a lighter, if you're using a nylon zipper, just to seal it. I think it's okay. I don't like heating up any plastic unless I absolutely need to. So now we are going to turn it right sides together so you can use either side. Our zipper is open, so it makes it so much easier. And we want to make sure our lining is inside. So take your time and make sure you poke out as much as you can. So this is what we were talking about, where it gives you that curved side, but it actually fits the shape of the wallet. So if you used a zipper tab, you wouldn't have that shape. It would be more square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to my iron and give it a good press first, just to make sure all the layers are sitting as flat as possible. And then it might not be even on the bottom. We want to trim it so both our exterior and our linings are the same length. So I probably have to trim down my exterior a little bit, but I'll know better once I press this with an iron. If you're using something that you can't iron down, just try to finger press it as best as you can. Okay, so we just finished the coin pouch, or as far as we're going right now, the bottom's all trimmed up and even. So I'm going to set that to the side, and I'm going to grab my exterior pieces. If you didn't already, the bigger piece, we're going to enclose all the edges, so it's not a problem, but the shorter, smaller piece is going to be left raw edge along the top. And cork usually has like a polyester cotton backing, so I'm quickly running my lighter just to catch any fuzzies. You don't want to leave it long because the cork will burn. It's a natural material, and like I said, the backing usually is mostly cotton and it can burn as well. So just really quick. The other thing, if you wanted, you could edge coat it. I'm not going to, because the back is such a dark black and the green is such a dark green that they definitely blend together. I did realize that, showing you, I never cut out the corners real quick, so let me do that. You can see that I had traced it with a silver marking pen. So yeah, if you want to base coat or do any edge coating, now is the time. The cork can, like the backing can fray, but it doesn't happen very often. So like I said, I think is no problem. So we are going to now line up the left and right sides with the sides of our large piece of cork or whatever you're using for the exterior and the bottom. So it's important to note that these corners are not going to match up. If you look from the back side, you see the different color cork. They are not going to match up. So definitely match up the bottoms and the left and right side. If you want to mark your center to do that, probably would be helpful. So then what I'm going to do is take this to the machine and I'm going to top stitch along the arc here and then just baste it in place along the left side, right side, and the bottom. In the pattern, she also did another line of top stitching at 1/4 inch, and I think I'm going to do that as well. So you're going to repeat that for both exterior pieces. We have just top stitched our bottoms of our exterior on. I'm really happy with how they came out. I think the yellow looks awesome with the green. This one right here is a little wonky. I'm hoping it will get hidden in the seam allowance, but we'll see. So the next step is we need to mark our centers. So how I do that is I just always fold mine in half, and this is a water soluble pen, and I just put a little mark in the center. And you're gonna do this for both your linings and the exteriors. And I'm only marking the tops right now. I'm not sure. Oh, actually my linings are already marked. I'm so bad at marking centers that I didn't even realize. I didn't mark the bottom center on my exterior yet. So now what you need is your zipper and your pulls. So I didn't trim my edges flat because these were left over. So we'll see if we can get the pulls on easy. So I'm going to start on one side. I don't use a jig or anything. I just use my hands. Usually I start on the side that has the higher tooth, which in this case is the left, but I'm right-handed, so I'm going to see if I can make it work. I think it's going to be fine. Okay, and I'm going to pull it a little ways in. So now to create our double zipper, we are going to put the pull on the same exact way on the opposite side. Oh, today must be my lucky day. They went on pretty easy and there's no bubble. So now what we want to do is we want to mark the center of our zipper tape. So I do that by just folding my zipper tape in half the same exact way. And again, I'm going to put a little dot on the edge. Even though this is water soluble, it doesn't like to come off like polyester or nylon. So I'm making sure that's in my seam allowance only. Okay, so now starting with one of our exteriors, right side up, we are going to open up our zipper. It's a bit easier to work with it that way. So basically you can see I have my pulls on the left and right side and my zipper open. Looks like a shark mouth. So I have my center of my exterior and my center of my zipper, and I'm going to put them teeth side down together. And we are going to clip it all the way around. In the pattern, Jess does mention clipping into the zipper tape like 1/8 of an inch to help around the corner. I'm not going to do that. Zipper tape can fray. I mean, knock on wood, I've never had it happen, but I don't want to risk it. So I'm hoping that it will, that corner will look smooth once I sew everything on without the snips. Snips in like a corner or a gusset just help ease the fabric around. So if I was doing like a gusset, I would totally snip into the fabric, but not for a zipper. If you do put snips in your zipper, you could probably also use like a fray check or just kind of take a lighter over them really quick to seal them in. And that's, of course, if you're using a nylon zipper tape, which is like, nylon is essentially plastic. And I'm just finishing clipping up all the way to the bottom of the corner. So now this is what our bag or exterior wallet looks like. So I am going to I'm going to base stitch all the way around. And the other thing I should have said before I started doing any of this is Jess shows you how to make a wristlet strap before this. I'm not making mine as a wristlet, so that's why I moved just on to the zipper. Okay, so I have just finished base stitching this in place. I used a stiletto around the corner. It seemed to be really helpful. So now we're going to take one of our linings and put it right side facing down, again lining up that center mark, and we are going to clip all the way around like we just did, and we're going to do the same exact step, except now I'm going to switch out to a zipper foot, and instead of basting, we are sewing this on at the seam allowance given in the pattern. And I'm just taking my time. You can use a lot of clips. Basting that zipper does help a lot. In almost every pattern I do, I baste my zipper first instead of doing the lining and exterior or whatever it may be at the same time. I find that it helps not stretch my zipper, so you don't get that waviness or like a bubble or anything like that. All right, so now I'm going to take this and stitch it at the given seam allowance. Your zipper should be sandwiched in, and my pulls are still hanging off the bottom. Okay, so I have just stitched all the way around at the given seam allowance. So now I'm going to turn it right side out to check my stitches. And I highly recommend doing this because now is the time, if you are not happy with how the zipper looks, you can fix it. But if you go further, you won't. Sorry, I'm trying to poke out my corners really well. The zipper pulls are so loud. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks. They're not all completely poked out or anything, but there's no like major pleats or anything that I'm uncomfortable with. So I'm going to turn it back to wrong side out. And I'm doing that just so I don't mess up my zipper tape and accidentally, flip it around, because now you're going to repeat the same exact process with the other side. So I'm grabbing my exterior here. Yeah, you can see. I mean, it's not, if you accidentally twist your zipper around, we have enough to work with that we could fix it, but definitely check it now. So we are going to repeat the same exact process with the opposite side. And since the process is the same, I am just going to do the rest of it off camera. So I'll meet you at the next step. Okay, so I have just attached the zipper on both sides. I think it came out okay. The corner, there's like a slight little wrinkle, and that's definitely because I didn't clip them, but I'm fine with it. So now we are going to top stitch around the edges at that 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch mark. You want to make sure the little gusset flaps are sticking out. You don't want to accidentally sew them down. It is super thick here, so I am going to try to pinch these as well as I can, and hope my machine can go through it. So we'll find out. Okay, so I've just finished top stitching, and it was definitely a beast to sew, especially on the edges, like right here. That got very, very thick. So I'm really grateful that I did use the cotton woven for the interior and not anything thicker like a waterproof canvas. So now what we need to do is figure out what side we want our front. I believe I'm going to use this side just because it shows more of the pineapple. I guess this one's up here, but I'm going to use this one because we need to add our zipper pouch, and our outside zipper is a double zipper, so it doesn't really matter if it opens left or right, but our inside is a single zipper. So if this is my front, I want to make sure that my coin pouch is opening left to right. So I am just going to quickly find the center. So like I said before, I'm terrible at marking them. And I am going to align it with the lining on the back, which thankfully already has the mark. And I'm going to clip it in place, and you want to be mindful, you are not clipping it to your exterior. You're only clipping it to the lining. And I don't think it matters if you which side you clip it to, as long as it's only one side. So then I'm going to take this to the machine real quick and stitch it in place, making sure that I don't catch my exterior in that seam. Okay, so we have just attached our pocket on the lining side only. So now what we need to do is put our both interiors facing each other and tuck in the gussets for now and zip up our pulls to approximately the corner. And I apologize, they're so loud banging on the table. And what we need to do for the bottom is we need our linings right side together and our exteriors right side together. Our linings are already there, but our exteriors are not. So how we can do that is I do have this open right here still, so you don't want it fully closed. And I'm just going to turn this on itself. Maybe do it a little bit out. And I'm trying to be gentle. I don't think it's gonna like bust or anything. It might, depending on your materials, it might be a little difficult, and it's definitely going to like look funny. And what we don't want is, see how my lining is starting to turn? I don't want that. I want only my exterior. So I'm trying to tuck this back up and over. And you can see it definitely looks funky. What I really need to do is bust out these curves. So you can see how it's definitely taking me time to do it. But essentially what I'm trying to do is get my cork exterior bottoms right side together and my linings right side together. What I think is not helping is this pocket. So let me try to... All right. And you can see, all right, so now we kind of have our linings right side, cork right side. Don't be discouraged if it's very difficult to do or it's giving you trouble. This is like a super awkward step. So you're probably not doing anything wrong. It's just how it is. All right, so I'm clipping our cork exterior right side together all the way across because we are going to have to sew this at the given seam allowance all the way across. And for our lining is a little bit different. Okay, so there's the cork side, exterior side. And now for our lining side, we need to leave a turning hole. So I am going to clip the left and right edges. And we're going to sew this at the given seam allowance, about an inch, maybe a little bit more. Jess recommends like starting and stopping at the pocket that's attached, which I think is a good way to tell how much to leave open, because we are going to have to turn our wallet through this opening after. So it kind of looks like this now. My exterior bottoms are together, my linings are together, and I'm going to take it to the machine and stitch both sides. Do not stitch this all the way. Remember to leave your opening. We have just finished sewing our exterior together and our lining, leaving that turning hole. And we need to turn this now right sides out. So I'm just going to slowly start working my way, taking my time. It is a quite large turning hole, but there's some pretty thick layers in here with the card slots and the, the exterior. You don't want to bust your seams. So definitely take your time. I can feel my lining here pulling, and I don't want that to pop. So I'm trying to smush this edge in. There we go. I feel like if I can get the cork side through, that's where a lot of the bulk is, because it's sturdier than the cotton woven that I used. So there we go. Once you kind of get it, you can also once you get your cork through, it really starts to move a lot more. And now I am going to try to poke out my zipper tape here. So we don't want to trim that yet. We're not done with our zipper. I guess the way that I have the zipper facing is making it a little bit harder to pull it out. Okay, perfect. So once I have it, I have my zipper tape with the pulls on the side. We need to close up our pocket here. So what Jess recommends is that we turn it under and we are going to stitch it across here. But if we did it like this, we would end up sewing through our exterior. So you kind of want to fold the exterior back on itself. And if you need to, you can even like pull it away from each other. You can see like this, because we do not want to get that caught up. I'm actually going to push it through, even right here through that opening. And so once I have this turned under, I don't know if I'm going to use pins or just hold it in place. Let's see, I got some pins right here. And I'm using the cotton woven, so thankfully I can kind of just pin this to hold it. And another thing Jess pointed out, that on the back side, it might not be such a straight line or anything. You're really not going to see it so deep in the wallet. So it's more important that you're just sealing up this opening all the way across. Okay, so now I am going to take it to the machine and I am just going to stitch, like top stitch across down here, making sure that I'm closing up that turn hole. Okay, so I have just stitched the pocket close here. And on this side, it looks pretty good. I used yellow thread, so it blends in really, really well. And now what we want to do is we're going to have to box these corners. And in order to do that, we need our linings right side facing out. So we are going to put our exteriors together. And I'm going to just kind of flip my zipper tape like this. It's a little awkward because of the pull. And I'm going to zip it up towards the top. So I have my zipper tape hanging off here. And we're going to repeat for this side. The longer you left your zipper tape, kind of like the easier it is to do. So now what we have to do is box these corners, and as the pattern is written, it is going to leave a raw edge. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to trim the zipper tape down, just not even with the edge yet because I haven't fully boxed it, but just a little bit so that I can see better. And now I'm reaching my hand in through where the exterior is and kind of opening up this corner down here, which is a little bit difficult because it's a small space. So we are going to pull this apart and make sure our lining and our cork exterior, or whatever you chose for your exterior, are lined up so that we can box these. The gussets are kind of like flapping and getting in the way. You could probably pin them out. And now, so I'm going to hold it like this so I can see a little bit better. I do have my cork not butterflied open. And what I'm going to do is take my scissors. Now that I have it ready to box, I can trim this. And I want to trim it so that way when I do my seam allowance, I'm going to catch all the layers, because that would be terrible if you did not catch your exterior. So I'm going to clip this and then take it to the machine and sew it. This does leave a raw edge. It's how the pattern is written. It does get hidden inside. So I'm going to take it and stitch across a few times to make sure it's secure. Okay, so I have just stitched across. I went back and forth a couple times because we really want to secure these teeth, because when we turn them out, it is going to be like pulling there. So we're going to repeat that process for the other side. But something that I want to try, even though this is raw edge and it's going to be hidden, my OCD, like, I can't leave it raw, especially because I use quilting cotton. I'm like, oh, what if it starts to fray? Honestly, it's probably fine. But what I am going to do is I have some green waterproof canvas with like the PVC back. I keep my scraps of everything. And because it has the PVC backing, it's not going to fray. Like you can see here, I literally have a scrap. It's not quite wide enough. This one might be better. I am going to just cap it and then I'm going to trim it after. So I am going to try top stitching this on just to bury all my raw edges in, or encase it in something. So I'm going to try that, and then I'm going to do the same for the other side as well, following the same exact steps that we just did. Okay, so I have just stitched both sides and put my little zipper tape end cap, I guess you call it like zipper tab or whatever, on the end. Jess gives some great tips in her video because this is super thick. I'm already using a 9014 Microtex. I was able to just like muscle through because my machine has the metal gears inside and is just like a beast with it. So if you're struggling, she gives great tips in her videos, such as like hump jumper, change your needle, hand cranking, trying a different foot, because honestly, this is where I thought the top stitching around the bag was the thickest. This is definitely the thickest. So now I'm really hoping my zipper tab ideas work. I'm going to trim this one down a little bit on that side. Again, these are going to be hidden, so I'm not worried that they're like perfect, but I prefer to have that than the raw edge of the quilting cotton. If I had used like a waterproof canvas inside, I would have been fine leaving it raw. So let's turn and see. So we're just going to gently push out the bottoms. And I think it looks pretty good. You can see some of my stitching here just because I use like a yellow thread, but it's secure. Like, it's not going to pull. I went back and forth with that over and over. I'm not worried about it shredding or anything like that. If I had used like a darker green, you wouldn't even notice it. So we have one more step. Now that these look okay, you want to check, because now's the time to fix them if you need, because our last step is our little gusset pieces here. So we're turning it back for wrong sides out, and we are just clipping. Actually, I'm going to move my pulls up out of the way, because if I don't, you don't want to accidentally sew through them. That would be terrible. Okay, so I'm just aligning the side gussets here, and I am going to top stitch along the edge at about 1/8 an inch. Mine are not thick because I use quilting cotton. They are not interfaced, so you shouldn't have a problem going through them. If you use like a thicker material, just be mindful, use a larger needle, but for me, they're nowhere near as thick as some of the other parts of the bag. Okay, so now I'm going to bring it to the machine and just top stitch on both sides here of these gusset wing pieces. Okay, so we have just sewed down, top stitch each of our gussets together. So now we can just turn our wallet back right side out. And again, I'm making sure that I am pushing out the bottom down here. All right, let's check it out. I'm gonna zip up both sides. It's so cute. It's not like overly squishy at all, even though I use quilting cotton. I think it's adorable. I'm so happy I went with the cork. And then when we open it up, we have our coin pouch, our card slots. You can see the little gussets. Like, honestly, you can barely even see where I put that waterproof canvas. I don't think you would see that raw edge at all, especially once it's tucked in. But yeah, it looks great. So super happy with it. I can't wait to use it. Alright, we just finished up our Sammy zip wallet. I'm so happy with how it came out. Let me know in the comments what you think, or if you enjoyed the video. And if you did, I hope you subscribe or give me a like. It helps my channel grow, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you again, Jessica from So Many Creations, for allowing us to sew up your pattern. Again, I'll have all her information linked, as well as the other sewists and their videos that have been participating today. So again, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye!